Let's talk about state of development of some of the biggest Xbox Series console exclusives. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video I would like to talk about first-party Xbox games, state of development, quality, maybe some of the release dates or release timelines. And the reason I want to do it is because a lot of times I see people complaining about that Xbox has got a lot of studios, but they don't really deliver content, right? And yes, that's obviously true, especially when you look at last year. 2022 was actually terrible for Xbox. There's no other way to describe it. Yes, there were some games here and there. Actually, Deathloop, was it Deathloop? Yeah, Deathloop was actually a cool game to play and stuff. But other than that, like there wasn't really anything that comes to my mind like big time game, right? So yeah, 2022 wasn't really that great. It wasn't even great for Game Pass, right? Like even this year, we actually got way more games, bigger games in Game Pass than throughout most of the year last year, right? And obviously 2023 is going to change things around because we are going to get quite a lot of actually first-party games now, and there's going to be some DLCs, like you are watching that new Forza 5 DLC that is coming later this month. We're going to get Hi-Fi Rush released in January. We are going to get Redfall 2, Starfield, well, Forza Motorsport this year as well, and a couple of other games, you know, hopefully maybe even Hellblade 2 and Avowed, who knows, right? But what I really want to talk about is that why does it take so long to actually release these games, right? And you know, some people, and including myself, yes, that one of the reasons was COVID, of course, right? COVID did really delay things, but that's really universal to most of the development studios. COVID obviously impacted most of these studios, but obviously some studios actually handled that better, while others did not handle that really well. But that's not really the main reason, right? The main reason why it takes Xbox so long to actually deliver these games is that they are in the middle of, cleaning up mess kind of process, I would say, right? I mean, you know, it's not really very technical, but that's what they are doing right now. Okay, so what do I actually mean by that? And I'm not really talking about like, you know, that there's some issues per se. It's just for so many years, Xbox was not really investing a lot in games. Like, yes, they were, you know, releasing new consoles, etc., etc. But when it comes to first party, obviously, the investment wasn't there. They were even shutting down some of the studios, like Lionhead and some smaller other studios. So obviously, that was unfortunate, and you know, if you are closing down studios and canceling projects like Scalebound or whatever, and I'm not saying that that was a bad decision per se, but the fact of the matter is that they were getting rid of some of the exclusives or studios, right? So, you know, they ended up, like in 2017, they ended up with like only like 4 or 5 first-party studios and very kind of not the best kind of relationships with some other third-party developers that, you know, back in the days would do first-party content like exclusives for them. So obviously all that needed to be rearranged, and obviously, you know, Phil Spencer got to power, and he became the like vice president of Xbox and whatever, and you know, president of gaming at Microsoft. Or whatever, and that's when things started changing, right? Like Microsoft, not Xbox, but Microsoft as a company finally started investing big money in Xbox, and they started buying these studios and stuff. And this is what really happened, is that it applies to both first-party developers they already owned, but also new developers that they bought recently or throughout the last couple of years, basically they started growing. And the reason behind that is that, and Phil Spencer is really talking about it big time recently. In last couple of interviews, I saw that like he's really talking about that quality and that kind of stuff. He wants to make sure that the games will be good and stuff, and that's why we are actually seeing all these delays. I mean, with some games it's really difficult to call them delays because they've never been given a proper release dates, like Fable or whatever, right? But you guys, most of you need to realize that Microsoft has, like back in 2018, they kind of started building the whole Xbox development portfolio like almost from scratch. They only had like 5 studios, right? And even with some of the studios they bought, like, these studios had previous commitments, like, they had to release a lot of games for other platforms or whatever, right? And that's why you don't really consider like Psychonauts 2 like an Xbox exclusive, because it's not an exclusive game, right? But it's a first party game, right? And yes, this year is going to be different because Redfall 2 Redfall is coming to Xbox as an exclusive, and Starfield and Forza Motorsport. But what Microsoft started doing is they started actually focusing more on quality, and I know that may not be the best example, but if you even look at Halo Infinite, and I know that there's issues at 343 Industries, right? But they gave them more time to actually finish the game, and really, like, the game was actually good, right? So actually quality of the game per se, like gameplay mechanics and everything is there. It's just the post-launch content wasn't really there, right? So that's why they got in trouble and stuff. But the actual game that they delivered was actually good, so the delay actually, I guess, paid off. And this is the new Xbox. Like back in the days, they would just release game hey, we've got this date, we need some new games, release it no matter what's the state of development. And you can see that with games like Recore, low budget, clearly that game needed some more time in the oven. Same with State of Decay 2, for example. I mean, that game when it first launched, it was just a shell of a game that it's right now. There's so much more content right now. That State of Decay 2 is actually a very good game now. Same with Sea of Thieves, right? I mean, yes, there was a lot of people playing, but they got bored very quickly because there was enough content. Like now, Sea of Thieves is actually a very successful franchise, but at launch that didn't really look that great because that game was underfunded, like many other games. And that's why now they are spending more money, they are hiring more developers, and they are actually taking their time to actually deliver finished games. Another example is Starfield, right? I mean, many people in the industry actually claim that if it wasn't for Xbox, Starfield would probably already released, right? Because Bethesda originally really wanted to actually release that game last year, but Xbox, I guess, saw some issues and they said, listen, don't rush it, finish the game, because I mean the game has been finished since like beginning of last year really. I even reported on that early last year. So now you've got Starfield, we're still waiting for it, but like this is the thing, that they've given Bethesda some couple of extra months to actually polish the game, to get rid of bugs, at least those biggest bugs, maybe add some content, who knows, but I think that the game is in polishing state right now rather than anything, right? So hopefully when it releases, it's going to be of a better quality. Redfall as well. Redfall was originally planned for last year as well, and if it wasn't for Xbox, they would probably release it as well. I mean, and I'm not saying that it would be a bad game back then, but I'm sure that that extra year of polish will actually allow them to deliver a better game, like more complete game. Even though some of the titles that first party, the new acquired studios actually released a year, 2 years ago. Even them, thanks to Microsoft investment and a little bit of a delay, they were able to polish the game, add some new content, better graphics or better music, and like good two examples. Again, Psychonauts 2, and so Double Fine was able to actually put some of the boss battles in the game that without Microsoft they would not have time to actually finish it, because like prior to the acquisition, the original plan was to actually get rid of some of the boss battles because they had no more money and time to actually do it. But once Microsoft bought them, they actually finished the game and delivered a complete experience. Same goes for Wasteland 3. That game by In Exile, they added some better audio because there was no voiceovers in the original game. I think, obviously the game was a little bit delayed, but they actually polished it better, like make the graphics a little bit better and that kind of stuff. So, all that paid off because both Psychonauts 2 and Wasteland 3 were actually great games, finished games, polished games, right? I will go back to that Halo Infinite case again, but like Halo was actually a very good game when it launched. Like I would give it like an 8.5. Now obviously, the post-launch content was missing there, obviously, but when it launched, everyone really enjoyed this game, right? So that extra year they had to actually polish the game actually kind of saved the game, I guess, right? Now, the whole drama about, 343 wasting money and resources and that kind of stuff, obviously it's still there, and there's no denying that 343 was actually poorly managed. But that one extra year that Joseph Staten had with Halo at 343, I would even say that it saved the game. Otherwise, I would, if they launched that game a year earlier, that would be a disaster. And nobody would want to actually talk about Halo anymore. Where now the game actually launched pretty well. They had some, sale and everything. Obviously, post-launch content was missing, but now they are back on track on delivering that post-launch content, and like a lot of people still enjoying this game, especially on Xbox, right? It may not be as popular on PC, but remember Master Chief Collection? Hey, they turn things around with all these extra maps and improved networking and everything, right? Like multiplayer, and I'm sure that will happen with Halo Infinite as well. So what I'm trying to say here is that it takes time to deliver good games. Microsoft hasn't had enough resources, and I'm not talking about money, because money is just part of the problem. You need people to actually work on these games, and the thing is that you cannot just throw money at the problem. It's not like our Polish government think that they can just bribe everyone and throw money at the problem and it will solve itself. No, you need competent people to actually manage whatever they need to do, right? That needs to be managed properly. You need to hire people that will create a game, fix any issues, whatever, right? Like, you need talented people to work on these games. And if you don't have these people, you have to start hiring these people. And they did, but it takes time. And that's why these games are actually taking so long. Because if you compare it to PlayStation, well, PlayStation have already built their first-party studios a decade ago, right? In PlayStation 3 era, really. And it shows that obviously they keep adding more and more, like Insomniac or some other studios they bought recently, and that will obviously and they are building that strong portfolio. But they've got all that talent already there. They've got all the processes there, and it's there and it's functioning right. While with Xbox, they are still in the building process, really, right? So yeah, it is what it is, and that's why when it's actually funny when you look at the games that will be releasing this year, like most of the Xbox first-party content will be Bethesda content. Starfield, Redfall. There's this Ghostwire Tokyo. That's another Bethesda game. So like, yes, but Bethesda is working as they used to work, right? So they've got all these processes in place and stuff, while with all these new studios, smaller studios, they are still building up, really, some of them almost from ground up, because like even Ninja Theory, when Microsoft bought them, they were only like a small studio. There was like 20-30 people working for that company. Now they hired a lot of more people, and only on Hellblade 2 there's like 60 people working on it or even more, right? While the whole company and is working on other projects as well, so Project Mara and stuff, so there's around like 100 people there, I think. So yeah, unfortunately it is what it is. Same goes for Perfect Dark or Fable and stuff. They just haven't had enough people to work on these games, and it takes time to rebuild, to build that talent and build these studios to a level where they will be able to deliver quality content, quality games. And yeah, I know that it's annoying, and it is annoying, and I'm not really going to argue against that, but this is really the reason why it's taking so long for Microsoft to deliver all these games. But yeah, it looks like 2023 is going to be this break off point, I would say. I think that's the proper way to put it, where yeah, it already started pretty well. Great games on Game Pass, Hi-Fi Rush, good reviews. Now we will Age of Empires for Xbox launched in January as well, so 2 very good games already. Ghostwire Tokyo, I think it's launching at the end of March, and then we're going to have Minecraft Legends, Redfall in May. Well, who knows about Starfield? A lot of people still believe that this game will be June game, so then we're probably going to get Forza Motorsport and one of the two, I think, either Hellblade 2 or Avowed, or maybe both of them, who knows, right? But I would say that probably Hellblade 2, because we still don't see anything about Avowed. Obsidian is really quiet about this game, while with Hellblade 2 they just released that video blog post, developer a video where they talk about this game. So it looks like they already started marketing this game, right? So there's actually a big chance that we may actually get that game, maybe even this year. I mean, towards the end of the year probably, but still. So guys, it is what it is. Looks like these games are coming, and this year is going to be great already. 2024 is probably going to be even better. So, I hope for that for sure. So guys, that's the video. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks for support. I really appreciate it. And don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I will see you all in the next one. Take care.